Definition of cognitive psychology. Introduction. Comprehending how the human brain functions has been a puzzle for many people. Most people begin to think critically about the operation of the mind only after it has failed, for example, when they are not able to get something they had in their hands just a few minutes ago. That is when they scratch and beat their heads to wake it up. For many years, researchers have worked tirelessly to obtain detailed information on the workings of the human mind. About 200 years ago, they identified theories that could explain the operations of the brain through cognitive psychology. Definition of cognitive psychology. Cognitive psychology is one of the major doctrines of psychology. It examines the behavior of the brain's internal procedures. These processes include solving problems, decision-making, comprehending languages, memorizing ideas, and the other functional duties of the brain. Cognitive psychology focuses on how the brain perceives information, transmits it, and processes the input to give the output. Cognitive psychologists usually make two assumptions. The first one is that it is possible to understand and describe the components of human mental processes. The other is that the mental processes of a human mind can be reported using models installed with specific rules and formulas. Related to cognitive psychology is cognitive science, which gives a detailed look at the mechanisms of cognition. Cognitive science is, however, divided into different subgroups such as neuroscience, psychology, philosophy, and physiology. Key milestones in the development of cognitive psychology as a discipline. Developing cognitive psychology as a discipline was not easy, as there were many hindrances during the stages of development. Most of these milestones greatly affected the initiative's progress in creating and developing a philosophy of the mind. One of these factors was the emergence of the Christian Church. When the Church arose, people turned to it and trusted everything they got from it. The Church, however, was more interested in the soul than the studious material from scholars. This negatively influenced the developmental process of cognitive psychology, as it was not related to theology. More to this was the fact that during that time, people could not make intellectual decisions, they instead followed different channels. Another hindering factor was the problem of making assumptions. The Greek philosophers came up with 3 assumptions. They said that any explanations were to be of the world, as it was easy to understand and predict the world. They further said that human beings were not special. This meant that the human body was easy to predict and explain, just like the other living and non-living creatures. This cannot be the case, as without research, the mystic about the human body could not have been uncovered. People believed in a kind of brain that could be predicted, such that specific rules are applied in specific situations. The idea of applying scientific research methods during the development of cognitive psychology also affected its progress. People could not understand how the behavior of human beings could be studied scientifically. In fact, they made fun of the people who were conducting the research, hence derailing the process of developing cognitive psychology. Lastly, objections from other great philosophers hindered the development of cognitive psychology. A good example is philosopher Immanuel Kant, who argued that the process of the brain or mind could not be measured as they do not occupy any place other than time. He convinced many people, who therefore failed to support developing cognitive psychology. Importance of behavioral observation in cognitive psychology. Cognitive theory has been found to blend human and behavioral theories. The behavioral theory is the most defined and structured, while the human theory is the least structured. Behavioral data can, therefore, be used to test cognitive theories and, from there, make absolute conclusions. This entails obtaining concepts that are not observable and manipulating them to behavior that is easy to observe. Behavior is thus important in cognitive psychology as it makes it easier to understand. Past research shows that the origin of cognitive psychology is in human behavior. Behavioral psychologists claim that cognitive psychology is not scientific because it is more of a theory than being obtained from experimental data. It is also difficult to prove the theories behind cognitive psychology, hence the inclusion of behavioral theory as a supportive mechanism. Behavioral observation is further classified into different divisions. Among them, we have naturalistic observation. Naturalistic observation involves keeping an eye on people as they run their normal daily errands, so that you do not miss the behavior that matters to you. A good example is watching people in a social gathering. From such a place, one is able to observe the activities and draw conclusions related to human cognition, hence the importance of behavior in cognitive psychology.